Hello, everybody. In this screencast, we're going to look at how to do this assessment, which was an in-class assignment where you build fragments. So it's one activity, multiple fragments, and you're given a starter project. Basically, there is a welcome fragment. You click on the button, goes to the registration fragment. And then basically in the registration fragment, you enter a name, you click on set gender, takes you to another screen, which is set gender. You pick the gender, you click set. You send it back to the registration screen, you click submit, goes to the profile. So it tests to see, are you able to pass data between fragments? Are you able to replace fragments and put them on the backstack? So we're gonna look at that. All right, so we have the project. So basically when the main activity starts, we wanna display the welcome fragment, right? So basically that's what we wanna do. So basically in the main activity layout, go in, let's have a look at it. And in the main activity layout is just empty. There is nothing in it, right? And it has a root view. You see here, this is the ID is a root view. Let's go back here. I don't know why my attributes are not showing. Let's see if I click on this. But anyhow, I have a root view. So basically I go to the main activity. Now I would like to show the registration fragment or the welcome fragment. So I'll say get support fragment manager dot begin transaction dot commit. And then basically I'm going to do add r.id.rootView new welcome fragment. All right, so now when I run this, it should show the welcome fragment as the top, as the screen that shows up when the app first starts. So now I have the welcome fragment, it will work. Go back to now look at the welcome fragment. I ask myself, am I going to send it any data, right? So let's see if the emulator runs today. So it's running, it's building. Now while it's doing that, I ask myself in the welcome fragment, am I going to send it any data? And the answer is no, I'm not going to send it any data. The welcome fragment just displays, nothing is being passed to it. Okay, here it is. And basically that welcome fragment, I don't need any data, so I'm going to remove all the boilerplate code that comes, or the starter code that comes with the fragments. All of that stuff I don't need. And the onCreate also, I'm not going to overwrite it. Here it is. So basically this is what the application looks like. Now I can add binding here. So basically binding, the name of it, let's have a look at the Gradle file. And the Gradle file has built features binding to true. So we're good here. I'll put the emulator here so that you could just see what it should look like. So where is my emulator? Here it is. Okay, good. So now let's do the binding. The name of the fragment layout is fragment welcome. So it's fragments welcome binding. Here it is, binding. And then this is all boilerplate code in the onCreate view. Instead of using the inflator, I just do binding equals welcome fragment binding. And basically we'll do inflate inflator container false, and then you return the root. So return binding dot root. All right, so basically here it's done. Here we go, we have the binding done here, right? And then on view created. Oops. And basically in onView created, I'll just say get activity dot set title to welcome, just to set the title at the top. And then basically I'll use my binding, and it's a button dot set onClick listener new onClick listener, and here's my button. So basically when you click the button, I need the activity to do something. This means that I need to communicate with the activity, and this means I need to implement the interface. So here's an interface. I'll call it welcome fragment, or welcome listener, right? Listener, here it is. And then void go to registration, right? That's what I'm going to do. That's the interface definition. Now I need to implement the interface. So we know that it's going to be implemented in the activity listener, and then we use on attach to get the listener listener to cast the context to the listener, and the context here is the activity. So basically go to the activity and needs to implement the listener, right? So here's options, enter, import the class, and now you need to implement the methods, which is go to registration. Now going to registration, So basically we're going to go from this screen to this screen. We're not going to pass it any data. We just want to show the next screen and push this one to the backstack. This is what it's saying, is that clicking the start button, replace the current fragment by the registration fragment and push the current fragment on the backstack. Okay, good. So basically I'm going to do something very similar to what I did here. Get support fragment manager dot begin transaction dot commit, and then basically we're going to replace r.id root view, and then basically I'm going to say new registration fragment, and then I'm going to add to the backstack, and here's the default backstack. So basically this should take care of this. When you click on the button, we're going to call this method. To call this method, we're going to call it here in the onClick mListener dot go to registration, and mListener is the activity, and we capture it through the onAttach. So now when we run this, all right, here we are. It shows the welcome screen. I click on start, goes to the registration screen. All right, good. So we are in the registration screen now. We close this, we open the registration fragment, and now the registration fragment is not receiving any data at initialization. So basically all this code also goes away. Here's one, and all this code also here goes away. Similarly, all this code goes away, and this code also goes away. Now we can add the binding stuff here. Okay, it's not letting me click for some reason, but anyway. So the binding, let's see, it's the binding. The name of the class is fragment registration binding, and binding. And basically again, the boilerplate code that we have to write with regard to binding. We initialize the binding variable to fragment and inflator, container, and false, and then you return binding.toGetRoot. All right, perfect. So that's done with regard to binding. And then on view created. Okay, so let me delete this. On view created, and then basically here we have binding.button set gender.set onClick listener new. Here it is. And then similarly also we have binding dot button submit dot set onClick listener new onClick listener. Now if we look at what needs to happen when you are here, this is the registration screen. When you click on set gender, you need to go to this screen, right? And then this screen, when it clicks on set, it needs to send data to the registration, right? Back to the registration. All right. And we do that by finding it on the backstack. This use case we have done before. You find it by the backstack, then you set a variable that's going to display the gender and so on, right? Or you send the gender. So basically we are going to have a string value here, which is going to be, this is the selected gender, right? And then we also need a method, a public method, which is void, it's set selected gender, and then you're going to pass a string, which is the gender, string gender, and we're going to say this dot selected gender equal gender, right? And then in the onCreate view, when you are this onCreate view is displayed whenever the fragment is going to be displayed, or whenever it's coming back from the backstack, these methods are going to be called. So we could check to see if selected gender is equal to null, right? We're going to do something, and then else we're going to do something else, and then here we'll do binding.text view, which is the selected gender dot set text to NA, right? And then otherwise we're going to do binding.selected gender dot set text to the selected gender, right? So basically that's what we're going to do here to display what we get back, right? And now the submit we're going to worry about later, but now let's we need to tell, when you click on here, we need to tell the main activity to go and display the next fragment, or to replace the fragment by this fragment. So basically the interface, and we'll call it the registration listener, okay. And void, we're going to say, for example, go to set gender, right? So that's one. And then we have another one which you're going to when you click submit, right? So basically void, go to profile, the profile fragment, and we're going to send it a a profile object, but I don't have a profile object here yet, so maybe I can create one. Let's say create a new class, call it profile. There it is. And we'll come back to this profile object in a little bit, but when you send the profile, we're going to send a profile and profile. So basically that's what we're going to do here. This is what the listener is going to do. And now basically now I need to implement that listener, or initialize a variable that's going to hold listener. And then this is very repetitive on attach. And again, listener equal to, will cast the context. The context is the activity, so basically it needs to implement this interface. Go back here, comma, here's the interface, and implement the methods, and here are the two methods. Now, when you go to set gender, what we're going to do is we're going to replace, so get support fragment manager, dot begin transaction, dot replace r.id dot root view with a new go to or set gender fragment. And then we'll add to backstack, and then we're going to commit. Right? All right, so that's what it does here. Go to set gender, and then go to profile. We're going to write it when it's time. Now, if we go back to the registration fragment, when you click on go to set gender, we're going to do mlistener.go to set gender. So now when we run this, you will see that the wiring is working. So basically, you are here, you click this, you are here, you click this, you are here. Now we can change the title, so we need just to change the title to be a little bit consistent. So on the create view here, I'll say get activity.set title, and this is going to be registration. And then similarly set gender, we are here. Now if we run this, you'll see that it's going to, you start, it says registration, you click set gender, we are here. Now we need to write set gender, which is straightforward also. So basically set gender doesn't receive any data at startup, so basically it doesn't need all this code, and all of this code we don't need, and all of this code we don't need, okay, and we don't need these comments, just remove them. All right, now we use the binding. Here is the name of it is fragment set gender binding, and here is my binding. And then similarly, this is all boilerplate code. This is the third time I do it in this video. Binding equal fragment dot this, and then inflator container false, and then return binding dot get root, and we're good here. So basically we are good with this. Now we can go in and do on view created. Here we are, and then do something. So basically if we look at what it looks like, so here is the emulator, it looks like there are these two buttons, cancel, and then there is the radio group, right? So basically here let's set first get activity dot set title to set gender. Here it is. Okay, so that's this. And now I have two buttons, binding dot button cancel dot set on click listener new on click listener, and then basically I have also binding dot button set dot set on click listener new on click. So I have these two buttons already set up. I know that I will have an interface, right? So basically I here have an interface that needs to communicate with the activity, and I'm going to call it set gender listener. Here it is. And then basically void set or send selected gender. Okay. And the selected gender is going to be a string and gender. All right, here it is. And then void cancel set gender, right? So that's this one. Cool. And then basically we need the mListener concept again. So basically a variable, we call it mListener, right? And then on attach, and we'll say mListener equals the context, right? And then when you are clicking the cancel button, we're going to use mListener dot cancel here. And then when you click the set button, we need to figure out what gender did they pick. So string, we'll say gender equal, let's say female, and then we'll do if binding dot this is radio group dot check id is equal to r dot id dot button radio button, is it radio button male, then we'll say gender equals male, right? So basically, and you could see that it's already preset to something, so I don't need to figure out if it was preset or no. I know that it's either male or female, and female is pre-checked, right? Okay, cool. So now here I'll just say mListener dot send the gender to gender. So basically that's what I'm going to do here. This is the code for this part. Now when you call this method, it gets called. Did we implement the interface? No, we didn't. So we go back here and implement that interface, and we called it set gender listener. And we need to implement the methods, and here are the two methods. So one of them is send the selected gender here. So basically, in order to send the selected gender, we want to send it to the registration fragment that is on the backstack now. So basically, this registration fragment, we need, when we created it, to give it a tag, reg fragment. Okay, we give it a tag, and then we can find it by tag. So basically, we could say registration fragment equals get support fragment manager dot find fragment by tag, and here is my tag. Here it is, and then we check to see if, well, yeah, it needs to be casted. Here it is, casted. If fragment is not equal to null, right, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say fragment dot set selected gender to gender, right? And then I'm going to pop the backstack, get support fragment manager dot pop backstack, right? So basically that's when you send back a gender, that's what you're going to do. And then when you just click on cancel, we get support fragment manager dot pop the backstack. We're just going to pop the backstack, right? So when you cancel, all right, so when we run this, you will see that the whole cycle will work. So basically we are here, we click here, set the gender female, click set, now it shows female, click the gender again, male, click, and you get male. Set gender, female, here we are, set gender, cancel, didn't affect it. Set gender, male, and so on. So basically it's working fine. So it's set gender, male, and here you go, you see male, set gender, female, set, shows here. So basically we're good with this flow, right? Now we would like to click to implement the submit. So the submit is in the registration, right? So basically when you click here, we need to find out a string value of your name, right? String name equals binding dot edit text name dot get text dot to string, right? So basically here we could check to see if name is empty, right? Then we're going to show a message, right? Else if selected gender is equal to null, then we're going to show another toast message. Else this means everything is good. So basically here is a toast, get activity, and then here is enter a name, right? That's one. And then similarly for the gender, select a gender, right? All right, so that's this case. Now if everything is good, then you have a profile and you want to send it over to the next screen. So now let's go back to the profile object that we created here. So I'm going to have a string name and gender. And now let's create a constructor. Here's a constructor which has both of them, and create also an empty constructor. A constructor, select none, and then a getter and setter. So here's a getter and setter for both of them, and here we go. So basically I have the profile class created. Let's go back to the profile class. Also I need to make it implement serializable, because I'm going to send it to the profile fragment, right? Profile, I make it serializable. Let's go back to the registration here, and I'm going to do this mListener dot go to profile, and I'm going to send it a profile object. So now I need a profile object, so new profile, and it has the name. So here is the name, and then the selected gender, right? So basically I just pass it on the profile object. Okay, now another let's have a look at the profile object just to make sure that we are using the correct. Yes, so it's name and then gender. Okay, that's what I did here, name and gender. Yani if to make it easier for you, maybe I can do a profile. I create a profile variable here, and I click this is the profile equals here we are, equals this profile object, and then that's what I'm going to pass on here. All right, so I have a variable. I'm just going to pass it over here into the profile. Now what I'm going to do is in the main activity, it will receive the profile object here. Now I need to send it to the profile fragment at initialization. So here is the time that we need to implement this code. So basically I don't need these comments. but I know that I need to implement this code. One, I need to give it a name, right? So basically I need a name for the variable. So it's going to parameter, it's going to call it profile, and I'm going to call it, let me copy this, paste it here. This is my profile variable, right? This is the key. This is not going to be a string, this is going to be a profile, and it's going to be m profile. So that's my profile. I don't need the other variable here, so I need only one. I'm only passing the profile. I don't need all of this. I don't need these comments. Now here I'm going to pass you a profile. Right? I don't need these parameters, right? Now pay attention to this. Instead of putting a string, I'm going to say put serializable, and this is going to be arg profile, and this is going to be the profile that you sent. That's why we made the profile variable serializable, right? And then here, when the onCreate, it's the time to get the profile, get arguments dot get serializable, and then arg, here's a profile. It needs to get casted to a profile object, and we're good to go. So I have passed the profile. Now let's also set up binding for this class. So it's fragment profile binding. Here we are. And then similarly, we will do this binding equals fragment profile binding dot inflator container false. So we have that. Return binding dot get root, and then we don't need this button, this line anymore. And then here we are here. Let's say on view created get argument. Sorry, let me go a little bit up. So get activity. Dot set title, and the title is going to be the profile, right? Let me just put a little bit of spaces so that you could see it. Now it's on the middle of the screen, right? So here it is. Okay, so here is on create view, on view created. Now we also need to set up in on view created what. So let's run it and see. Nothing is going to happen. Yes, when you click, it will go to the profile. So click on start, click on submit, says enter a name. Let's enter some name. And I click on submit, it says enter a gender, let's see, female, and I click on submit, and it doesn't go anywhere. So let's see why it doesn't go anywhere, because in the main activity, when you go to profile, we didn't implement this method. So basically we get support fragment manager, begin transaction, dot commit, right? Dot replace, r.id dot root view, and we're going not to say new profile, but we're going to get instance. Profile fragment, new instance, and we're going to pass it the profile. Okay, and then replace, and then add to backstack null, right? So basically, so here we are using the new instance method that we implemented that adds it to the arguments, right? And okay, let's see here. Click on start, submit doesn't work. Enter a name. We go here, pick a gender. We are here. Click submit. We go to the profile. Nothing is being presented yet, but we just need to present these and set up the close button. All right, so we are halfway there. We're going there. We're receiving the profile object. Let's close this. Let's close this. Let's close this. We are here now. Now, to implement this, we need, there is a binding dot button. So we have the close button, set on click listener, new on click list. That's the close button, right? And now when we're coming in here, we can just say binding dot text view, the gender dot set gender, set text to m profile dot get gender, right? So that's this one, and then binding dot text view name dot set text to m profile dot get name. So basically I'm just displaying the name and the gender that I received. Now when you click on cancel or close, you want to dismiss this fragment. So basically you want to pop the backstack. So in order to do that, I'll create an interface. I'll talk to the main activity, and we'll call it, for example, the profile listener. Here it is. And then basically I'm going to do void close profile, close the profile fragment, right? Here it is. And then similarly I'm going to do the same thing, m listener, do this here, m listener, here it is, on attach m listener equals the context, and then when you click, we just call that method mListener dot close fragment, and then this I need to implement. This interface need to be implemented by the main activity, and I'm gonna do comma. Here we are. and implement the methods. Here is the close the profile. Here it is, and then we're just going to pop the backstack. So I'm going to say get support fragment manager dot pop backstack. Oh, sorry, pop backstack. All right. So basically now, if we run this, you will see that we have the full round. Here it is. You click on start, takes you here. Bob. Let's say Bob. You say pick a gender. Here it is. Pick a gender, male. Here we are. Click submit. It shows up here. You click close. Goes back. Go back. Start, and so on. So you could see that we are able to implement this assignment, and this app is very straightforward, just passing data from one fragment to the other, or passing fragment by finding them by tag, or passing fragment at initialization. Please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.